Okay, we're live.
All
Hi,
right.
everybody. I'm T. Fugner. I'm the editorial director for comics at King Features and Comics Kingdom, and I'm here today with Liniers, the creator of Macanudo.
Hi T.
Hi, how are you?
It's every time I say hi T, I think like a very British thingy. Yeah. Hi T. Let's have some hi tea.
Yeah, we're gonna have some scones and some like little sandwiches with the crust cut off. So welcome. It's great to chat with you today.
Yeah, nice to see you. Haven't seen
It's
you in a
good.
while.
I know. It's been a long time. I haven't seen anybody
Hmm.
except my husband and my parents in a
Yeah.
while. So yeah, so it's great to have you here, and I'd love for you to start by telling people a little bit about Macanudo.
So Macanudo, which to me is Macanudo, which is how I pronounced my whole life because I'm from Argentina. And it's a daily strip that I started doing in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, in a newspaper there called La Nación. And basically, back then, Argentina was in the middle of a very big economic downturn, like now. That didn't change much. This was the year 2002. So everything was very pessimistic in the newspaper, and also the Twin Towers and the World Trade Center thing, and so everything was very dark and very pessimistic. And I thought, well, they are giving me this little spot in the newspaper, this tiny square. Maybe I can try to be optimistic. Like this is my way to be anti-system. Like my way to be punk was I'm gonna go against the curtain. So if everyone is pessimistic, I'm gonna be optimistic. And I tried very hard to do this little optimistic space, and I've been doing that little spot of optimism for the last 18 years. Just has been
Oh,
tiring.
that's amazing, and we're going on 2 years of that optimism in in American papers and globally as well. So that's
Yeah. That
yeah.
was a big deal to me because growing up, I loved my grandparents had this newspaper in English in Buenos Aires because they had lived in England for a while, and they had like the best. I love the cartoons in that newspaper, and it was all like Beetle Bailey and Moose and the Far Side, like all these amazing, and a lot of them had the little king features on the side, like this little stamp, and I wonder what is that place, where is this this kingdom, and here we are.
Here we are. And now you've been to the kingdom.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, no, and it's been, it's been great getting to read Macanudo every day. One of the things that I think is really cool, and I know I didn't tell you, I was going to ask you this, is
Mhm.
that Macanudo is you write Macanudo in both English and Spanish every day.
Yeah.
And that's one of those, it's kind of a rarity for a comic to be actually written bilingually from the start. I was wondering, for you, when you're writing comics that way, do you ever have like a problem with translating a joke?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. If you can't do any puns or wordplay or stuff like that. It's very pop culture in Argentina that aren't here, or things that are in pop culture here that aren't in Latin America. So yeah, it takes a little bit of finding the right material, but it's been also like a way of rejuvenation, I guess. Like I've been doing it for so long, this daily strip, that any change is very welcome in the way that it presents, or just the Sunday strip that has a different design, it's a little bit bigger. That kind of opened my brain in an interesting way. And the other day, somebody told me, because I've been living in Vermont for the last 4 years, and somebody told me that from reading my strip, he realized I'm in the green period because there's a whole bunch of woods and trees and beautiful trees that showed up over the last few years. That there used to be like the really kind of like simplistic little thing with the green and you come here and they are different.
Oh yeah,
There's a
that's
whole
really
different bunch
cool.
of trees. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you're drawing a bigger variety of trees, different trees. Do
Yes,
you have
yes.
like a favorite tree to draw?
I I I I have been enjoying the trees over like brooks and creeks, just
Hmm.
because I have a couple down here. I walk a little bit, and there's a mix of that, and also I don't remember exactly, but I kind of feel that there's a Calvin and Hobbes and
Oh yeah,
Calvin
yeah, like
walking on a
walk,
tree
right,
over.
right.
So
In the wilderness, and yeah.
whatever, like, yeah, sparkles my little Calvin and Hobbes thing in my
Oh,
mind.
that's great.
Yeah. So
Cool.
thanks, Mr.
Yeah.
Watterson, yet again from the other side of the syndicate world.
Yeah. That's really cool. So one of the things about Macanudo is that it sort of bridges this gap between kind of the story-based, character-based comics where you've
Hmm.
got the same characters and they have things going on in their lives every week, and the sort of more gag-oriented, there's a new thing every day, because you've got a set of characters, but
Hmm.
they're not, and who come up regularly, but sometimes you have some new folks who show up, and sometimes you have, you don't necessarily have like ongoing story arcs with them. And so I'd love for you to tell the folks who are watching a little bit about your characters and a little bit about, how you create Macanudo.
Yeah, exactly. The One of the things when I got the daily strip is kind of a scary monster in the world of cartooning, right? Because it's every day and it's unrelenting, and you don't have weekends off, and you just have to keep on producing and publishing. And always the complaint that I would read from people that I like what they did was that they would feel that their humor was kind of like constricted by just a couple of characters, like in Calvin and Hobbes. So we have 10 years of those beautiful strips, and then we never heard again from Mr. Watterson. But also Mafalda was a big character in Argentina that I love, and that also had like a 10-year run. And always the kind of complaint that I would hear from their authors was that, oh, I didn't know where else to go with these characters, or with this type of humor. And so I didn't want that to happen to me, and so I just basically decided that I could do anything in my strip. Like, there are no rules to this thing, basically, and or at least
Yes.
that's what I thought. you know and in Buenos Aires, I think they gave me enough of a free range to go, like, okay, if you want to do it like this, it's fine with us, but it's going to be a little bit confusing for the reader. Because of course, if you give the reader a character, then the next day it's a penguin, then the next day it's some obscure cryptic humor, then the next day it's something, whatever. So it can get confusing, and at the beginning you get a little bit of a little bit of hate mail, people going like, I don't get this thing. But the cool thing is, eventually someone picks something that they like about the strip. Some people like the when it's very classic, like with Henrietta, and it's kind of like a little kid strip. And other people like the when it's kind of weird and inventive and poetic or whatever. The crazy cat people kind of
Yes.
go for the yes, you say. So, but the thing is, I loved everything about the daily strips. I love the Far Side, and I love Calvin and Hobbes, and I love Crazy Cat, and I love all these different flavors, and I didn't want to just go like to the ice cream place and just get one. I just wanted everything.
Oh, that's
You know,
great.
if I was a musician, I would have, I wouldn't have been. I love the Ramones, but I don't think I would have been the Ramones. I would have been someone going like all over the place, going like, oh, maybe I should do some tango here, or maybe I should do some rock there. I'd be like a Tom Waits. He does a
Got it.
bit of
Yes.
everything. Tom.
Yes. Nice. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So you do have, I think one of the things that is really meaningful for me about Macanudo is you do have all of these really cool characters, and they aren't quite the same characters every day.
Mm.
But you've got Henrietta and Fellini, and you've got Martin and Olga, and you've got your mysterious man in black and your
Yeah.
penguins. and elves and all kinds of
There you go.
ooh,
The future, the
nice.
future.
We got a little preview there. We got some spoilers. You know, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about your characters, you know,
Hmm.
who they are and you know what they mean to you.
Yeah, there are all these different yeah, tools or toys or whatever, books or whatever. Like if my feeling, what I was telling you before, that to have the most freedom in this little space was the most characters I had, the more different types of humor I could go to, the more uh, different types of story I could tell, different the drawings or the designs. So like Henrietta, for example, is just a very classical character, like in the vein of Charlie Brown and Nancy and Mafalda from Argentina and all these little kids in comics. But I Mafalda is a huge example in Argentina of one of our Latin Americans' favorite comic, kind of what Peanuts is here. And just like Peanuts is kind of like these little kids that are not behaving like little kids. They are kind of like little grown-ups.
Yeah.
And so that, that makes it very funny because you go, all these very uh, complex little kids. But I didn't want to do that just because it was such a great, you don't want to do the same thing that other people did way better than you can, so because it's gonna be obvious. So I kept Henrietta like in the world of infancy. I try to remember how I was when I was a kid, and what kind of things I liked when I was, and what I latched onto when I was a kid. And I was a very shy boy, and I really love reading. So I gave Henrietta her books and her cat, and she's not a part of a bunch of little kids, running around having adventures. She's just on her own. My feeling is she just moved there, so maybe she doesn't have many friends yet, or
Ah,
I know she has a single mother, so there's some things that I kind of intuitively know, but I don't, it's like subtext.
that they don't
And
really come into the strip. They're just there in the background.
exactly. So there's that, so that's that character, and it works for that type of kind of classic humor. But then sometimes you wake up and you want to be like surrealist and have fun just being nonsensical. And then I have these little elves that I can kind of do whatever with them and make them fly or make them have strange ideas and have fun with their weird little bonnets. And and then I have like the mysterious man in black is just when I don't, when I'm not very inspired, I go like mysterious. But there's like, you can go in many different directions with all these different types of characters. So
Yeah.
the more the merrier. It's like when you were a kid, I had like 10 the Star Wars action figures. There were I had like the classics. I have Darth Vader and Han Solo and Chewbacca, like the main characters. And I remember going to a friend of mine, and he had like little action figures that I have never even seen in the movies. And I was like, this must be the happiest kid on earth. Well, I get to make up my little action figures now, so it's infinite. I can,
Yeah.
and one of the last characters that showed up, that they showed up because I moved it to the woods, are these two little witches that I just
Padrona
love drawing.
Ruperta. Oh, I
Yes.
love them so much. They're wonderful.
I am absolutely in love with these two little witches. Every time I draw
Yes.
them, I enjoy them every second of of drawing them. And it's because I moved to the woods. It's just this, this strip kind of like, for me, it's kind of like a personal diary. If I
Yeah.
go back and I read old Macanudos, I kind of know where I was. Oh yeah, I remember when I did that. That was because I was kind of depressed. Or that was that happy day that I did that one.
Yeah, that's so cool. So it's, so it's essentially it's like a personal diary, but not in the autobio comic sense. You're taking what's going on in your life and kind of twisting it and molding it and coming up with something new.
Yeah, it's codified just for me.
Yeah, yeah. No. So one of the things that's cool about Henrietta in particular is that you've also done children's books with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love children's books. It's, I think it's one type of literature that's very often like, you know, underestimated, just because it's, oh, this is for kids. That you could give them anything, give them this, give them that. It's fine. I don't care. Give them Monster High, whatever. And it's, books for kids are like books for grown-ups. Some of them are amazing. Some of them are really bad, but the ones that are amazing and the ones that the years pass and pass and people keep on going to and kids keep reading, like, Maurice Sendak or Dr. Seuss or Roald Dahl, or those, it's not a gazillion authors, it's just a bunch of those. And what they have in common, I think, is they never underestimate the readers, and and they can go into very complex feelings, and not just, just because it's kids, let's give them everything like super didactic and just, eat your, broccoli or whatever. I There's a thing that I never do when I do my books for kids, is I am not trying to teach them anything, I guess.
Yeah.
The one thing I may be trying to teach them is that if they have, if they go through one of these book things, you can feel crazy feelings, like you can have fun or be scared or whatever. And if they want to read another book after mine, that's, I'm done. I don't care if they hit their sisters or their siblings. I don't care if they eat all their food. I don't care if they brush their teeth. That's not my job. I have three little girls, and it's hard enough for me to, make
You
them.
got to get them to brush their teeth.
So exactly, I don't care about any other kids, but I do want them to understand that if you go through a book, you can, think with someone else's head, and then if you go through many books, you can think with many people's head.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So we have an audience question which kind of
Okay.
ties into this, and it's someone who claims to be J. Edgar Hoover, but I feel like that's probably not
Well,
true.
I don't
Um,
know the afterlife.
is asking if they can expect to see more children's books from you.
Yes, yes, I am working on one right now. Kind of like, I did one for Toon Books a couple of years ago called Goodnight Planet, and it's kind of close to that one. It's the end of a trilogy. I have like a little. It turned out it was a trilogy of these little girls books. Just because I have three little girls at home,
Oh, cool.
and it's kind of easy. Just look over their shoulders and then go like, okay, I'm gonna draw that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm working on that, and next year it should be out.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
looking forward to seeing it. That's really great. So
I can do
yes.
a very fast, very fast.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna, like, after this is done,
Yeah, a
we're gonna
catch.
post the like we're gonna post the like link to go watch this after the fact and be like, you know, exclusive sneak preview.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Go
Cool.
for it.
Thank you for the very short exclusive sneak preview. That's gonna be exciting. So let's take this back a little bit. You were talking about reading the paper when you were a kid,
Yeah.
and seeing the comics in the paper, and um, I want to know a little bit more about how you got started actually cartooning yourself.
Hmm. Well, I started, I of course at school, when I was very bad at sports. And in Argentina, if you're not good at soccer, this is kind of how they figure out who's popular or not popular in a school. Is you're good at soccer, people like you. You're not, they go like, ah, boo, boo. And so eventually I started staying back with a couple of friends of mine who were also as bad as me at soccer. but and I remember we would do horror comics, like,
Oh,
yeah, we would do, with one friend we would do like Star Wars and Rocky, and then with these other guys we were into like Stephen King, so we would do like horror comics and monsters and whatever. And so that's like, when you just do who you are when you're 10 years old, you are you, exactly. If you kind of, if you're five, better yet, you haven't been through the whole process of the world making who you are going to be because where you were born or what's your religion or non-religion or this or that, you know. So when I was 10, it was very clear to me that I had to draw comics. But the weird version of the world is that they ask you, what do you want to do when you're 18? So I went like, of course,
Yes.
I want to be a lawyer. Of course, of course. And I started, I started studying law, and that was a horrible mistake. And then I tried, you know, social communication and advertising. I didn't like that either. And then I went like, what did I used to do for me? And I went, oh, I like to do comics. And I found a workshop with a cartoonist, and the second I sat down again when I was like 19 or 20 to do this workshop, everything came back like the Proustian Madeline. I was like, oh, this is me, you know. And then I was like a force, like a non-stoppable force. Like you
Oh,
know,
that's amazing.
I have never stopped drawing. I love drawing. I love my lifestyle just because I get to do what I love to do.
Yeah.
But it was yeah, kind of a financial suicide because there's no way you're gonna be a cartoonist in Argentina. It's like five that get to have like a living. It's very, you know, maybe 10.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was very lucky in that
Yeah, and
regard.
you did it. You're one of the five.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about drawing, I can see your watercolor sitting there behind you.
Oh yes,
And
yes, here we go.
yeah, you know, and I think one of the things that's really cool to me about your work is that in an era where a lot of cartoonists
Hmm.
are doing black and white line art digitally or on paper and then coloring digitally, you're very hardcore on your analog materials there.
Yes, yes. Maybe it's generationally. Maybe, you know, I always had the feeling that I was the last person who was born that's really bad with computers. That the person who was born right after me, like 5 seconds after me, is like, you know, my parents are really bad with remote controls from the TV because they go like, I don't
Oh,
know,
so it
you know.
runs in the family.
Yes, because generationally they didn't grow up with a remote control. I am super good with those things. I go like and I turn everything on. Well, my brother is amazing with computers. He works like with, you know, the blockchain and AI and all that stuff,
Oh, wow.
and I am super bad at it. So, you know, I kind of do a little bit of Photoshop. I will, you know, fix my whatever ink spills or stuff like that, but I never managed to get like a subtle or nuance or, you know, something delicate out of a computer. Like, yeah, even a mistake I like when I draw with a, you know, when I paint with watercolors, like, oh, if it's outside of the line a little bit, I like, because you see kind of a human thing there, whereas if you do the little bucket, it never goes outside the line. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a, yeah, it's how I managed to get this kind of, you know, sensibility on the page. But and also I kind of like that, you know, somewhere in the world there's, you know, a little Nemo drawing, that it exists on a paper, that there's somewhere in the world there's a Popeye cigar original, you know, and you can see that this guy, yeah, well, and you can kind of see the pencil, and then he
Oh,
erased, and
yeah.
then a little white out here and white out there. And I love that all those stuff, you know, Charles Schultz, all that stuff was on paper. And now I feel like everything is just, yeah, it's gonna be in a, maybe a book if you're lucky. Generally it's gonna be on a screen, so it's not even gonna be, is it there, does it exist?
Ooh,
But
oh, we're getting philosophical.
yeah, but then on the other hand, are there people out there that do things with computers that just blow my mind, and they manage to get subtle things out of these computers, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just a, it's me failing. It's not the tool's fault. but this is how I managed to figure this thing out.
Well, I mean, you fail beautifully. If that's
Yeah,
failing,
that's a
you're
trick.
it's all gorgeous stuff. But yeah, no, one of the things I love doing is going to museum shows of original
Mm.
comics art, old original comics art. And yeah, and you can see like the little places where they pasted a tiny bit of paper and redrew something over something.
You know
And
the big difference between important art and cartooning art in museums is like if when people stand in front of like a Van Gogh or whatever, whatever Matisse, everybody goes back and stays away and looks, and then they keep going, back. And when you go to a cartoonist
you
museum, a cartoon museum,
pull up
everybody's like,
close.
their nose is right up to the drawing, going like, oh, there's a little bit of white out there. Yes. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I've
it's
been to the Jill Ireland. No, what was the Ireland Museum in
Billy Ireland
Billy Ireland?
in
Who's
Columbus.
Jill
Yeah.
Ireland? Must be like an actress from the 70s. So Billy Ireland Museum in Columbus, Ohio, and it just blows your mind to see, those like Calvin and
Yeah.
Hobbes, and oh, so
Yeah, no,
I
it's
love
so
that
cool. And
thing.
it's so cool to be able to see process in the final artwork. It's
Yeah.
not, it's one of the few mediums where that's true. So yeah. So I'm gonna fast forward to today.
Hmm.
I know one of the things you've done a whole bunch of over the past few months is you've done some really funny COVID comics. Um,
Yeah. Funny haha or funny
I mean, a little of
yeah.
both, if we're really the one that you did really early on with the burning the clothes.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So, but
It
I want, oh, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
yeah, it's just been the weirdest year ever, and I'm interested, because the thing is, the way my work goes from my table to the outside world is very fast, right? So I draw something, and then a couple of weeks it's out. But there must be people now writing movies and writing novels, and that we are going to be watching over the next 5 years, 10 years, because has traumatized everyone. So we already, there's like a horror movie out, like a Zoom horror movie. It was kind of fun, called Host. Watch it, it's very funny.
Oh, okay.
It's like this, but then scary stuff happening behind you.
Oh,
So but there's, it's been such a traumatic year that it's gonna generate a lot of art, and interesting and weird and strange art. So I'm looking
yeah.
forward to that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm wondering, other than the obvious, what are some of the other things that have been inspiring you this year? What other, are there other themes that you've been really into, or types of jokes that you've been, that have
Yeah,
been.
well, I am super lucky that this crazy year caught me here in Vermont in the middle of the woods. So, unlike my family and friends in Buenos Aires, and I have friends in New York, I have friends in Madrid, and they are, locked into these very tiny spaces, and every now and then, now suddenly they can go out for a little while, but then they have to come back, and I just can walk, I don't know, 10 miles into the woods, and
Ooh.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's nice.
But I've been doing that a lot. I figured, well, since if I have it, I have to use it. It's unfair, if I don't take advantage of that. So I've been walking a lot in the woods with my dog, and also there's been like an obsession, I think, because nothing is happening to us, because we're all in this type of stasis, kind of like in pause, that I have been consuming vast amounts of books and like stories in any form.
Oh, that's
you know
wonderful.
like I've been reading like crazy, and yeah, and watching movies and series here and there, and then and writing a lot and drawing a lot, just because I think we all need to feel that something is happening to someone. I used to be, to fly to different countries and, see friends all over the world. And I have a friend who we do a show together, and all of
Oh,
that
yeah.
went away,
Yeah.
disappeared from one day to the next.
I feel like that's one of the things, especially for people, cartoonists and other people in comics, is this whole year, the lack of conventions. Like, I feel like so many of
Yeah.
us, our entire social lives are who do we see at conventions? And
This yeah, it's kind of, yeah, so it's been a heartbreaking year in many
yeah,
regards, but also I don't know, the way the planet was going, it's so in the wrong, in my opinion, no, in so many wrong directions at the same time, that you almost feel like someone unplugged the computer and then it's going to plug it again in 2021. When you unplug the computer and try to figure that
oh,
some magic is going to happen, and then everything kind of runs a little bit better.
that's an optimistic way of looking at it.
That's
It's
why I do
very, very
Macanudo.
much in your, yes, very much in your, wheelhouse there. That's great. So,
So yeah, let's hope.
yeah. So you said you've been reading a lot and watching TV and watching
Mm.
movies. So do you have any recommendations?
There's different types of reading and watching movies, of course. So we've been doing a lot of with my daughters, like going through, like, the kind of the important movies or movies that you love. But so we've been watching Hitchcock and the African
Ooh,
Queen,
nice.
like some old classics, a lot of like musicals, because my wife she loves musicals, so a lot of that. And the kids watch Hamilton, so they've been like, "Yo, Alexander Hamilton," all through the house, which was kind of interesting. And like a little 6-year-old, daughter going like, "The son of a whore and a Scotsman," and you go, "Okay, go, little Hamilton." And but also there's been a lot of like, you just want lollipops and you just want like things that make you feel nice, so you just watch old stuff that you watched as a kid, or reread some old books. So I've been rereading the Dark Tower series of
Oh, I love
Stephen
those
King.
books.
Oh,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
a great reread for this time.
Yeah.
Stuff happened to those characters.
Oh, yeah.
And then for like my just feeling happy, I've been rewatching all the Friday 13s. Just because I used to watch them when I was 12, and I thought like that's gonna make me feel
Oh,
nice.
see,
A lot of
I was a Nightmare on Elm Street kid
oh,
personally.
me
So
too. But
yeah.
I
Okay.
had already rewatched those too. So,
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
but so I've been, a lot of decapitations of horny teenagers. It's fine with me.
Good.
Some
Awesome.
interesting ones, some really bad ones too.
Yeah. Good. Have you read any good comics lately?
And I bought, what did I just got Harrow County that
Oh,
I
Harrow
just love
County's
the,
beautiful.
I
Yeah.
love the drawings there. I
Yeah.
just read the memoirs that Adrian Tamine put together, the loneliness of the long distance cartoonist, and I identified with like 97% of that book. Like if I cross Adrian Tomine's name and put Liniers, like I can pass it, I can give it to my daughters and go like, this is your father. So
Oh.
Adrian, uh, hi man, I feel you, man, because it's very funny and very kind of all those sad, pathetic thoughts that we have when we go for a signing and there's no one there, or when you see someone you
Oh.
admire and you try to look cool, but then you never be cool. Actually, I did that with Adrian Tomine one time. I just saw him walking in the Brooklyn Book Fair or something, and I kind of nerd and geeked out and went like, "Hey, Mr. Tomine!" And I didn't say Mister. I went like, "Hey, Adrian." And he was like, ugh. And I then went all the night, "I'm an Argentinian cartoonist, la la la." And I have a photograph.
Oh, good. Good.
Oh, I love that one. But yeah, it's a good time to read comics. I've been
Yeah.
reading Hugo Pratt. I read a lot of Latin American old stuff. I love the brothers Moon and Ba from Gabriel Moon. Gabriel Ba and Fabio Moon from Brazil. They did Daybreaker and the Umbrella Academy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
cool
I've
thing
been
about
reading
comics
this
is that there's a whole bunch of different stuff.
I've
What
been
can you
reading this
recommend?
really good comic called Macanudo.
Oh, it's great.
It's,
Yeah.
Yeah. So every day there's a new one every day. It's fantastic. So yeah, so it's about time for us to wrap up.
Hmm.
And I just want to, before we do, If you can let folks know where they can find you on the internet if they want to bother you about anything.
Oh yeah, bother away. I have a Patreon page now that I like. I don't know. Somebody told me, yeah, you do the Patreon page, but I'm kind of enjoying the kind of little community of it thing, because in Instagram and there's a whole bunch of people, and on Twitter they get like the weirdos, but in the Patreon thing it's like a tiny thing. We're all friends, and it's like Patreon/Liniers. But also, yeah, the Twitter, Instagram, usual places. You just write Liniers, eventually you figure out which one am I. And there's also Liniers cartoon. Liniers is the one in English.
That's the one in English. That's the one where I understand everything
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
being
yeah.
said, and not just what I've learned from reading subway ads in New York for my entire life. So yeah, no, that's yeah. So everybody look up Liniers, check out his social media, give him a few bucks on Patreon if you were so inclined. You can read Macanudo every single day on Comics Kingdom and in your local paper. If you can't read it in your local paper, you can call or write your local paper and tell them that you want to read Macanudo every
I just
day
want to
in your
say
local
I'm
paper.
very happy that the Valley News, which is my local newspaper, is had picked up Macanudo now. So it's
Thank
so
you,
much
Valley
fun
News.
to
That's
go
awesome.
to the mail and grab it and go like, oh yeah, there that's Beetle Bailey and that's me. Okay,
They're the
this is cool.
same.
This is cool.
Great. Yeah. And, check out comicskingdom.com. And thank you so much for spending time with us today. And, I'll hopefully see you again sooner rather than later.
Definitely. Oh, it's
All right.
it's beginning to rain here. Nice,
Ooh,
nice.
nice. All right. Well, have a
Well,
beautiful,
T,
go take a nice rainy walk in the woods. It was good seeing you.
so nice to see you.
All right. Bye. Bye, everybody.